back to Exterminate, a Doctor Who podcast, and we are back with Who's He podcast, and today we'll be doing our review on Dot and Bubble, the latest episode of Doctor Who Season 1, Episode 5. So, let's get straight into the review. So, pretty interesting concept going on there.
Yeah.
You hate the character so much you begin to hate the actor because they did such a good performance of the having such a nasty character.
You don't hate her to begin with. It's just there's a lot.
Eventually
you do, yeah. But there's a lot of things going on in this, isn't there? But the underlying theme through it all is they're just a big old bunch of racists, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, even in 10 minutes in, even less than that, you can already tell she's intolerable. You sort of can't quite figure out what she's up to.
Well, I thought to begin with it was just like a satire on the way people interact on social media now, really. Just the fact that they are in their own little bubble. They just interact with like-minded people online. And I guess to a certain degree we all do it, don't we? It's just, the exclusivity of people in that age bracket, like we're saying, like, young...
Yeah. Young,
was it 17 to 27-year-olds? I think.
Yeah,
they said
young,
it was,
rich people. It's literally just for them.
But yeah, so I think that's and it is a kind of a satire on young, rich, white, entitled people and influencers as well. And I've got to be honest, it's the kind of people I will cross the road to avoid. Really, I can't stand it. It's not my age group, so it's not my thing. You watch a lot of that stuff, don't you, on YouTube, and I don't.
The thing
really.
is, there's too many. There's way too many people like that now, compared to a few years ago, which was only like 2016. It's still, even though it was quite popular to be an influencer and stuff, it still wasn't that bad. And compared to now, where it's all
everybody wants to be an influencer.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be famous on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, or Instagram, whatever it might be, Facebook. And I think that's what this story in a certain way was pricking the bubble of, really, because it was taking the mick out of those influencer type people. But then when the Doctor and Ruby sort of drop into it, you can see why the Doctor used, when Ruby first interacted with what was her name,
Lindy Pepperbean.
Yeah, I think that's when you realise, because he wasn't getting anywhere really talking to other people. That's why he used Ruby, and that's when, I suppose, when the Doctor then appears,
she gets all moody again.
She gets all moody, and then when the Doctor appears later on, she says, "Oh, I thought you just looked the same." Meaning she thought it was a different person earlier on, but it's still the Doctor. So it was there was sort of like that's when you began to realise not everything's quite right. And then I suppose really it's not until right at the end, and you sort of, certainly for me anyway, I wasn't really picking up on that. But the fact that all her friends were white, there was no people of any other colour there.
I mean,
were there?
You did kind of realise it when you were looking at the bubble, because when it said offline, the Doctor was sort of like scrolling through it, and there wasn't one white, coloured person there.
Yeah, it was to begin with. I thought it was just like a satire on the dangers of social media. You get so wrapped up in it, and people live their lives through their phones or their tablets, and people do, because I mean you can see it when we just got back off holiday, and you can see people, they're on their phones all the time. Doesn't matter where they are. They've got beautiful scenery around them, they're still walking around with a phone in front of them like that. And this took it to the extreme.
You can really tell she is indulged in that completely. Doesn't even know how to walk. She's controlled.
I was about to say, yeah, exactly. That's what I was about to say, because it even tell you which direction to walk in, and I think that's as I say, it's taking the whole social media, people living their lives through a phone and through this little bunch of people they've never actually met in person. It's all online, and it's all and it is like, but there are people like that out there. They put stuff online just to get likes and comments and things like that, and they want to friend people online. They wouldn't actually speak to these people in the real world.
I mean, Lindy Pepperbean is really a bit, she's literally been used. Her character's being used as literally social media itself.
Well, it's a cipher, isn't it? She's a cipher for all that's bad about social media. But then it's more than just that. The way that they, not just her, but I mean, it's even the fact that
she abandoned.
No, nobody uses their real names either. It's all pseudonyms or aliases all the time, and it's just it's like an online world because a lot of people don't use their real names online. They would call themselves, like when you call yourself Doctor Who boy, yeah. So it's just a handle, but people in this say it's taken it to the extreme where it's like they actually believe it's them. That this is them. This is their personality.
I mean, this character's a big coward, and she's definitely entitled. But she leaves someone she's been so longingly waiting to meet her.
Yeah,
she's there,
which is September,
and just her dot goes crazy, and she just lets him, and then it sort of does this like chain thing. It falls on his head, like it himself, and she just lets him sort of die there. Not die, but sort of.
What she does because the dot has knocked him out basically by cutting the chain to fall on top of him. The dot's making for her, so the first thing that's coming to the head. Well, I know his real name, alphabetically, because we all now know that the people being killed alphabetically. By the
Coons.
Yeah, Coons comes before Pepper. So she basically saves her own skin by getting him killed. And that's when you sort of really, up until that point, you think she's just a stupid, entitled kid who doesn't know what the real world's about, but then you see her true colours. She is a psychopath. Basically, she is a psychopath. She will sacrifice anybody to save her own skin, even somebody she supposedly likes. She will sacrifice it, and then when it gets to the bit at the end where everybody is dismissive of the Doctor. They're basically the first people that Lindy sees as she comes out of the tunnel into the underground river.
Completely ignores them.
She ignores them totally.
She looks at them and sort of walks away.
Sort of like that and walks off, and then you just realise, well, basically she's treated the way she treats the Doctor. It's like, well, that's what you're meant to serve us, kind of thing. I think it's quite a nihilistic view of the future, because usually the future it's always it goes one thing or the other. It's sort of like, humanity's better than themselves, or they can't get rid of war. We're continually fighting and whatever. But in this particular instance, it's rich, white, entitled people have basically still got the same instincts as say that from hundreds of years ago, and even probably even now, I'm sorry to say, of treating people who are not white like that. Even said like they said, like the TARDIS was voodoo, and don't spend your time with him, you get contaminated like it. It's just horrible. Like your skin cover rub off on you or something. It's horrible.
He was trying to save them even when she said what she said, but Ruby just walks away knowing that she was not worth waiting for.
No, I think that to me, considering that sort of Ruby is adopted by a black family basically, that she said nothing at the end, which I just thought was a bit weird. I thought what we see of Ruby so far, she would definitely have said something.
It might have been because
that just struck me as a bit odd.
It might have been because Lindy Pepperbean, in a way, she's a slight attention seeker. So maybe that's why Ruby didn't want to give her the attention of saying anything, because she'd sort of
I just don't think. I think really it was written just to give the Doctor his moment rather than Ruby stepping in to say something. I think Ruby should have stepped in and said something there. Actually, I think that's what that would have been a bit more truthful to what actually happened.
Although you can tell she was visibly upset by what she said.
Yeah, but
she did react to it.
The other thing as well, it shows more about the Doctor's character. Sort of like, even he said, I don't care what you say about me, what you think about me, just let me help you. He doesn't. He thinks, even though they despise him because of his skin colour, he still wants to save them anyway. But they just no, thank you, we don't need you. And even at the end, where they say the guy with the long hair and the beanie hat on says at the end that we'll go and conquer the world and be pioneers. That's exactly what white people said back in God knows when they invaded all these other countries and tried to civilise people.
The Doctor said, "Let me save you." So obviously they're going to die on the way there.
Well, basically, I think that's probably what separates us from the Doctor, because then we're all probably thinking, "Oh, good, go off and die then. You get what you deserve." But the Doctor's saying, "Well, no. Even though you're bad, idiot, despicable people, you're still worth saving
because you're still a human being."
Yeah, exactly. So that says more about the Doctor. The Doctor's character, I think.
I mean, it says a little bit about the writer as well, what they think, because they're writing the Doctor as well.
Yeah, Russell T Davies has got a very nihilistic view of the human race at the moment. I think it's quite an angry way of writing, because there's sort of like, even in the future, these things are still happening.
I mean, we know
and it's probably right.
End,
well, the thing is,
stuff like that, nutters, wars and racism and
human race,
it's never going to ever stop.
No, it just continues like that, doesn't it, really? We never seem to learn.
People that
are too late.
Evil, and still get until people eventually stop.
Not everybody's like that, but some people do. They want it to be popular, so they can look really good in front of this amorphous blob called the social. I think it all worked. I think that there was I know everyone's picking up on the whole racism thing, which is quite right, but I think there was a lot more going on in this than just that. I think, actually, because it was taking that whole blinkered view of the world. As it says, you're in your own little bubble online, aren't you? So you have got this, like, people hold their phones up in front of them like that, and it is like this cocoon around their heads all the time. And it was just taking that to the extra degree, and then on top of all that, they're also racist. So, and entitled rich kids. A
small, group of people that are like that.
Well, the thing is, I don't want to go. We've been talking 15 minutes about this already, but I think the thing is, people like that are in their own little bubbles. They don't understand what goes on outside of their own little rich, privileged lives. Like I say. These people in the program, they work 2 hours a day, and the rest of it doing data processing, which is basically saying Facebook, and really it's a case where then they spend the rest of their time partying, watching crap on TikTok or whatever their version of it is.
Mummy, they have their mummy.
Yeah. But that's what quite a few rich entitled people are like, because they don't understand what it's like to actually have a proper job. They never had to try and make ends meet each one. They've never had to struggle for anything. And I'm not saying we have either, because we're okay.
I mean, the average person.
But there's other people out there who aren't.
She says she's worked 2 hours a day. Says it's so long, but the average person usually works between 6 and 10 hours a day in some ways. So even longer, sometimes even 12. It depends on.
Well, if you're doing shift work, but then sometimes you think even doing a night. There's no such thing as a 9 to 5 anymore now, because you've constantly got, again, a phone on you all the time. You're expected to carry a phone, you're expected to answer emails for work as well, particularly in the UK. I think that in certain European countries, they've actually made it a law that you are not allowed to answer work emails, outside of your working hours, which I think is a brilliant idea. Rant over. So you get me, like Russell T Davies, I'm getting a bit political now. I shouldn't be doing this on your podcast, but Scott, so no, okay. Right, we're going to rate this one then.
Yeah, but we haven't, just quickly before we end it. Mm-hmm. Susan Twist plays Mummy, although...
Lindsay Pepperbean's Mummy.
Yes.
The other thing I mentioned is the slug creatures, which were quite well realised. But the whole thing of, it was the Dot AI went sentient and just decided these people are hateful, so I'm going to kill them all. It didn't really need the slugs to do it, because as it proved at the end when Ricky September got killed, that the little dot could have quite easily have killed all of them.
The slugs is called the mant trap, and because they weren't stopped,
well, they just continue to live, aren't they?
looking at you, Big Finish. Maybe you can continue that for us.
Oh, maybe.
Thank
maybe.
you.
Maybe on the outside
Thank
world.
you.
I hope they all die horribly.
Oh.
Okay, let's rate this then.
What would you?
You first.
Oh no, you.
No, you.
No, you.
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 You. Come on,
No, do it
you
first.
first. No, you always do me first, so your
No,
turn.
you're doing it first.
Oh, God. I think this one 8 out of 10, this one.
Pardon?
8 out of 10.
Yeah, go about the same.
Yeah?
Thing is, it wasn't a.
It's enjoyable, but I think the thing, it's the second Doctor Light episode in a row.
Oh yeah.
It's
not light. It's
and
not.
I know that's to do with the whole filming thing, because Shooty Gatwell. I think also Millie Gibson as well weren't really available. But I think to show 2 Doctor Light episodes back to back, I think it's probably a bit of a misstep.
They put in Rogue and then.
Yeah, could have done anything really, but just to sort of split it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know. But, yeah, so I think that's it really. Yeah, so I think that's about my sort of only sort of couple of sort of gripes about it. To be honest, I thought it was well done. Yeah, but I think actually what I was going to say, I think with this season of Doctor, there hasn't been a lot of wham bam, has there?
Explosions.
Really? Yeah, it hasn't been an exciting.
Apart from maybe Boom, which has.
No, even that wasn't exciting as such.
Explosion Mount Lamont.
It was a fairly static episode. It basically was filmed in one room. Really, if it had been like a set in a house, it would have been in one room, because it was just in that crater. It didn't move really move beyond that crater.
Everyone thought that it would be another Doctor Light story. That means there would have been 3 Doctor Light stories in a row, which probably wouldn't have been that good for the season, because people would be like, oh, well, where's this new Doctor? I don't want to watch this series anymore because I want to see the Doctor.
I know, exactly. But...
So it probably wasn't the best idea to have back-to-back ones, like you said. But that is the end of the podcast.
Yes, indeed. So what's next week's episode, Scott?
Rogue by Kate Herron and Bridie Redmond.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Redmond.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
That's everything.
Okay.
So thank you so much for watching today's podcast, and we shall see you next week for Rogue. Goodbye.
Bye.